I'm sure you've listened to us before, so you know that my name is Jeff. My name's Jeff. And his name is...
Yeah, my name is Paul. Hi, pleased to meet you. How you doing? Is that right?
Yeah, you've got to keep that accent up for the whole time now.
No problem. I got it.
So we're not alone tonight, are we?
No, we are not alone. We got somebody with us in the room. Who is that, Jeff?
We have our very special returning guest. Is this third time? Fourth time, maybe?
I don't know. You boys know everything.
We do know everything. That's right. He got it there. We go back a long, long way, right?
We got Al. We got Mr. Al Dewar here.
What the fuck was that?
I think it was Bane from Batman. Oh.
Hi, mate. I'm American Australian. Yeah.
I'm not going to do any of that anymore.
Oh, dear.
Good evening, Al. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
Yes, I'm very good, obviously.
Especially after those accents.
Given that nonsense. Yes, I'm very good. I'm very excited and delighted to be able to join you guys. I watch you quite regularly, and it's fascinating.
Well, thank you very much.
He says all the nicest things.
Yeah, he got the memo.
Yeah, and the brown envelope as well. No,
yeah.
Thanks, Al. Always good to hear you, mate.
We're going to talk through various things, I'm sure, this evening, but we're going to do a watch-along commentary to Revelation of the Daleks, Part 1. So we've all got our iPlayer here ready, and we're going to do a countdown in a minute, and we'll press play at the same time. And then we will do a sequel episode where we go through Part 2 at some point as well, I'm sure. So, are you all ready? Fingers poised?
Yes!
Fingers on the button.
3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah, I do have a TV license. Watch now. There we go.
Are you going to be behind us now already? Are you going to be like a second behind?
Fractionally. I've still got Starfield going on.
You've still got Starfield. There you go. Yeah. I'm on Colin's lovely face beaming out of the Starfield tunnel with all the multicolour lights and things going on. Look at that.
I've got to say, this is one of my... It's one of my favourite title sequences.
I was just about to say that. I do like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's kind of similar to the Fifth Doctor's, but has more colour and swirl on it.
Yeah. Do you like this one, Al?
I do. In fact, I was thinking about this today. It's funny. You forget that back in the day, this was cutting edge graphics.
That shot of Necros
graphic. I think this was the first Doctor Who where they was this the first one where they used the Quantel system, which was this massive computer that probably a calculator could do now, but it was the Quantel system was the one where they started. Actually, it's wrong. I think it was used in Colin Baker's day to do things like the mysterious planet stuff.
Yes, which I think came after this one. It was the year after. So I think I'm not sure if it was the very first one, but it was definitely one of the first.
I remember at the time thinking it was quite jarring, as in, like the whole Doctor Who comic, I think as it was then, or monthly, changed completely, and it was that it got, it was very much space, wasn't it, rather than time at this point. That intro.
You mean in the TV show rather than the comics? Yeah. So there's a lot, wasn't there? I mean, so this is right at the end of season 22. It's kind of the finale story. Not that there's any kind of narrative arc like you get nowadays, but we'd seen. So this comes off the back of Time Lash, doesn't it? Which was the one before and then before that we had things like the Two Doctors, the Mark of the Rani, Attack of the Cybermen, and Vengeance of Davros. So it's quite a solid season, I think. There's a lot of good stories going on in this. They're all quite, and they're all 45 minutes long as well, which is quite a thing for 80s Doctor Who, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But this is quite notable. I mean, obviously Colin is in it now. But a lot of the story is kind of happening without him and Peri in it, isn't it?
Sorry, that was me. I suddenly realised I was watching the wrong episode.
Oh yeah? What's he on? Oh my goodness.
What is he on?
Do we need to start again?
No, don't start again. It's all good. It's all good.
So we are 2 minutes 50 into it, and
2 minutes 50.
Yeah. So you
and there's
it's 50. Right.
There's a nasty thing in the lake.
Something in the water. Horrible hand just came out. Now they're
know-
both looking.
Yeah,
sorry, I'll go
go
ahead. I was going to say they're both looking quite fetching in their blue here, aren't they? And Colin's
It's
kind
the
of
official funeral color of
That's it.
Of the
Necros.
place, isn't it?
Yes, there you go.
Necros,
Tranquil Repose.
Yeah. Do you know, I love this story. It's one of those ones that's just doom laden from the start. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of. It's funny. It just gives you. It's not depressing, and that's not really what I mean. But there's an air of just,
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's not a nice place to be. It's got it's very well done. The lighting's. I mean, I'm just looking at it now. The lighting's fantastic. I'm quite drawn to, not in that way, to Trevor Cooper, who obviously was in Star Cops, which I also kind of really enjoyed as a series.
That's
Mr. Copper.
Mr. Bucket, isn't it?
And Mr. Bucket, yes, indeed.
Do you know, I caught some keeping up appearances on TV recently. I haven't seen that in years, and I tell you, it was pretty bloody funny. You wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of that these days, but I really enjoyed watching it again. It was really good. He plays the downtrodden husband so well.
Hyacinth Bucket.
What a brilliant, horrible character. Yeah. The set here is pretty spectacular, actually, isn't it? It looks really good.
Gorgeous. It's lovely. Look,
it's flowers and
beautifully decorated.
What's quite interesting is it's reminiscent of the old Roger Murray Leach multi-level sets. It really gives a sense of kind of things being up and down rather than everything being a studio floor, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
Maybe was Graham Harper who directed this, wasn't it? Was he like a floor manager during those days when Roger Murray Leach was a designer? So that would have been like Robots of Death sort of time, wouldn't it? Round about then.
Would possibly. I don't. The honest answer is I don't know, but I met him once actually down in Cardiff because
Graham Harper or Roger.
Graham Harper, yeah. Because he did a 10th Doctor story. And it was weird. It was the same. We went down to Cardiff and met John Barrowman, Graham Harper, and weirdly Liz Sladen, which was amazing. So I got to meet all them. Liz Sladen was obviously the best thing. But
yeah, he directs.
It was actually very interesting to chat to.
Yeah, it was Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, wasn't it? Which featured was it Trevor Cooper again from here, or was it? No, it was Colin Spall, wasn't it? As Lilt, who plays Lilt in this story. He was in the Cybermen 10th Doctor story as well.
I'm just looking at his credits here. He did loads. Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, 42, Utopia.
Oh, Graham Harper, yeah. Well, in the classic series, he only ever did two. He did Caves of Androzani, which was awesome, and he did this one, and he was definitely one of those directors who seemed to show what the show could be if you just put some good angles on it, if you got down on the floor with the actors, if you just spent a bit of time. And I think he did. I know I've said this before on the podcast, but he was keen with a single camera, wasn't he? And obviously this kind of location shooting is ideal for that kind of setup.
It was, and I think he also had an inane sense of how to light the thing.
Absolutely,
it's a bit like, contrast this with the likes of Warriors of the Deep. And it's funny because although that's a fabulous story, I think that had the lighting. Actually, there's an interesting thing about Warriors of the Deep, but I'll natter on about this for a bit. But
go on.
I think the lighting would have been, if that had been sorted, it would have been a much more powerful story.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
The background to Warriors of the Deep is that the guy who wrote it as when he wrote the script, he wrote it basically a bit like the Sea Devils. It was a totally disused, falling to bits. It was an allegory of the Cold War. So he wrote it as basically this mouldering, rusty bunker in the bottom of the sea.
That's right.
Which visually would be far more impressive than what we actually got on screen. but for whatever reason, the production designer decided to go
turn the lights up.
Yeah. So you're right. It's that the lighting, makes all the difference, as well as music on stuff, doesn't it? You switch out the music and the tone and the feel of something is changed.
Well, that's what, isn't it? If the monster looks crap, don't show much of it. The lurker, or the murker. Everybody laughs at how it's the Rent-A-Ghost pantomime horse, but light it correctly and don't show much of it, aka Caves of Androzani.
The magma beast,
and you might get away with it.
But that's what they did in Alien, wasn't it? In the first one, because that was just a guy in a, body stocking really at that time with some rubber bits stuck on him, apart from the mask,
Yeah.
So stick him in the shadows.
Just going back, this again. So this sequence here, you can tell this is kind of handheld, isn't it? Or at least it looks like
a little bit of wobble,
which kind of just adds to the urgency. So again,
this was an interesting era, because obviously this was in the era of it's ultra violent and there was also issues. But it's interesting, things like that guy with the submachine gun and the muzzle gun. It instantly makes it much more visceral and violent.
Absolutely,
when it's
what we noticed.
Weapon.
We talked about Vengeance on Davros, didn't we, recently? And the whole thing with them watching everything on TV, and then the violence within the episode anyway, and there's a lot going on in that one.
There is, and this is quite a good moment now, isn't it? So the Doctor is kind of crailing the mutant that Peri's whacked over the back with a massive stick or something, and he's obviously dying. And his face, I mean, look at him; he looks disgusting. So on the surface, this is pure body horror, but yet there's a compassion here, right? So this is now a sympathetic character who is about to croak and gasp his last breath into the world, and so and this is very much a story where things which appear to be something on the surface are not quite what they seem when you dig a little bit deeper. So on the surface here, we've got a monster who's kind of just attacked people as per usual Doctor Who, but now he's a victim of something. We don't quite know what at this point. But
that's a very good point, and I guess that's an allegory on. Is it an allegory? Is that the right word? On Tranquil
we'll go with
Repose
that
itself. So Tranquil Repose is supposed to be this lovely place where you're nearest and dearest, and hey presto, it's an absolute horror fest with bodies being processed into soup and various other things. So,
exactly.
That's a great observation, actually. I like that.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. To be fair, this is one of my top stories. I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched this. It is by far my favourite Colin Baker story.
The Daleks in this, and
they're great, aren't they?
They're kind of back to being a little bit brutal and scary.
They are, and they're different. This is the first time we saw those cream and gold coloured Daleks, isn't it? So this is a new thing. I think the Dalek story before this was the Peter Davison one, Resurrection of the Daleks, where they were still falling apart. I think they had some new build or something, but this is shiny. This is bright new.
I just want to say this is very clever the way they've just moved down through 3 floors there.
Is it a doll's house? Is that what they call it when you do that?
Possibly. It's just a very clever slide with the 3 shots just moving them together, but it's that's an ambition there visually, and trying to take it forward a bit and make it a bit more cinematic, I think. And you're right out, with all the lighting and just that bit where the 2 guys were there and they shot the guy at the end of the corridor. You've got a bit of blue light on the side of them, and there's that depth to the corridor, which is a bit like you were saying, Al, with the tearing on the sets there and stuff. It's just lifting it all a bit and kind of, making it a bit more than its budget probably, would allow normally.
It's the characterization in this story that I think is very good. Everybody's spot on. I mean, is it Tekka? Her name is. She's
Tassenbecker, Jenny Thomason.
She's very good.
I love her. I think she's
very
fantastic.
Understated. Weirdly, the one character I still don't like in the whole thing, you'll probably disagree, and I'm quite happy with that, is DJ. I just think
Alexei Sale.
Great. Well, I'm an Indiana Jones fan, and I kind of I kind of like him in that, other than the fact his accent drops horribly at one point. but his
does a bit, yeah.
his
He was kind of a name back in the 80s, wasn't he?
He was,
He was in the Young Ones. He was doing stand up. He seems to be on every single comedy sketch. It was alternative comedy sketch shows, wasn't it? Saturday Night Live and all kinds of things like that. So
you could say
he was definitely a name.
Casting him is kind of the classic equivalent of doing the likes of Matt
Dodd.
Lucas and Ken Dodd when he was in it as well. Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's always been this idea of stunt casting or casting a celebrity name has always been a part of Doctor Who. Certainly in the 80s when JNT was in it. Because I think we spoke to Andrew Cartmel about it, didn't we? He kind of thought, and this is like, well, it was out of my hands. So,
yeah.
I think casting against type, I think, is brilliant.
Nicholas Parsons.
DJ being a slightly more. That's a good one as well. But had the DJ been a slightly almost depressive kind of character,
the
opposite of what a DJ would be, or like he's in the arse end of nowhere playing tunes to dead people, but he's kind of like this super, high energy kind of. Yeah.
I see what you mean. I'd never thought of that, actually. I think that would have been really good. So now every time I'm going to look at this, I'm going to regret that they decided not to go down that road. You've taken us down a few notches for me now.
There's Trevor Cooper.
That's him, yeah.
Brilliant. Colin Davis from Star Cops, absolutely brilliant series, and such a talented guy. He's just always perfect because he always plays. And I like in this, he's not... again, it's understated and slightly underplayed. He's not that kind of East End white boy.
What, mate?
Yeah.
We haven't talked about these catacombs. Eleanor Bron, isn't it? Yeah. Those catacombs where Davros is in, we'll probably go back to it in a minute, but I mean, that's another great set.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at that. And I think we're going to get another great set coming up in a minute.
That's upside down in its lap. It's
very macabre, isn't it? It's almost. I was trying to work out the logic of why those things are even there, and you can't imagine it. It's built on an older structure, and all this stuff has just been kind of dumped into the basement. These big catacombs and basement levels.
Yeah,
and
it's funny. I remember when I went to Rome. There's one of the churches, the Basilica San Angelo, I think it is.
Oh, right, yes.
You go into it and you go down. You pay €15 and you go down underneath. And you're in an old church, and then you go down even further, and you're in a first century Roman villa, basically. And it's kind of got this is. You're absolutely right. It's back to Jeff's kind of sort of multi-level thing of and it's a theme with Davros, isn't it? That even right through to the Capaldi series, that he's always in the basement.
Yeah.
He's
lurking.
Yeah.
Always,
hiding away.
He's always stuffed down in the basement scheming, and it's kind of like that weird, thing of he's in the back end of nowhere.
Yeah. That's really interesting what you were just saying there, Al, because I was talking with Elodie that works for me this week, because she's going to Edinburgh soon, and I was saying you could do the ghost tours up there, and they take you under the city.
Yes, do the vault. The vault.
And I said, in Seattle, for example, you can go under the city to the original part where it's all kind of, run down and decayed. And, they just basically built over the top of it at some point and redid Seattle. So like with that old church and then building on top of it. So it's kind of mad to think some cities out there have got an old city underneath that they've
it's like Judge Dredd style, isn't it? Mega city one over the ruins of New York.
Yeah.
These were great, these two.
Yeah, I love these two.
And again, it's the kind of scheming.
I know, it's the
nature of it's like all you're getting here is just a picture of everybody hating everyone else.
Exactly, and everybody's in it for their own means, aren't they? They'll literally everyone would stab everyone else in the back, and I think actually one or two of them do.
As soon as look at them, it's the and here's the sleazy kind of guy that you kind of know is bedding
Mr.
every
Joe
one
Bell.
of the girls,
but not this one.
But not this one, and it's quite topical for the moment. But it's that thing of the guy at the top gets to pick and choose, and he even says it. I get to pick and choose of whoever the hell I want.
That's it. Yeah, and she dotes on him as well. So no matter how cruelly he treats her, she absolutely dotes on him until the very last moment, obviously. But at this point, she would do anything for him. And it's details like that in the characters as well as everything else in this story that helps sell the reality of it. You kind of get the feeling that, at least I get the feeling that we're kind of voyeurs in this. We are watching a society that exists, or a place that exists with real people inside it who existed before we started watching them, and for those that still make it to the end of the story will continue to exist afterwards. There's a solidity about it. Well, whereas a lot of Doctor Who, it has that theatricality which makes it seem somehow artificial. This one doesn't have that. It's solid. It's 3 dimensions. There's walls. There's depth. There's a place that has its own character, its own atmosphere. There's basements with a spider of Davros lurking at the bottom.
The thing, doesn't it nicely? I think at this point it nicely continues that story of Davros.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's all this one's quite a nice jigsaw puzzle. Bits fall into place, but you suddenly sort of you find out a little bit more about what he's doing. He's not with the Daleks anymore. He's kind of on his own in this faraway place. He's hiding essentially in plain sight. He's the Jimmy Savile of the Daleks, hiding in plain sight. He's harvesting humans for cells and creating his own. It's that whole thing of like naughty Davros kind of
well, it is, isn't it? It's the greatest, like you said, hiding in plain sight, the greatest evil, which doesn't even in a way kind of bother to hide itself. He sort of does, but he doesn't. He's assumed this personality of the great healer, and purports to be some kind of massive universal philanthropist ending galaxy-wide famine or something, but
and that's the horror, isn't it? It's the horror of big corporation where people are like, starvation used to be a problem in this part of the galaxy, but he's basically, and he's turning all these bodies into soup, and it's kind of
it's like Soylent Green, isn't it? It's that kind of horror again.
Exactly. I mean, I think, Jeff, it might have been you. I can't remember. It was that body horror thing going all the way through this, from
you said that, didn't you, Paul? Yeah,
right from crispy,
crispy music
that crawls out the pond. To...
This is quite fun. It's a nice little interplay between the Doctor and Peri here, isn't it? Puts a boot in his face.
It's funny. They always kind of. It's funny the Doctor and Peri relationship has always been
fractious,
not antagonistic, but there's a friction there, isn't there? There's a definite friction.
Yeah, definitely in this series,
Baker, because although he gets a lot of shtick, I think this is a good example of what he really could have been had he had more of a go. And the Big Finish guys have done a
great job.
Yeah. You imagine if he just didn't wear that coat, and he was in, less of a costume and more of a outfit, I suppose.
Because the trouble is that most of the conversations about Colin's Doctor tend to be about the coat. It's like you can't get away from the coat. I mean, I personally love the outfit. I think it suits his character, but it almost overtakes or threatens to overtake his character. I think Colin's skill actually in portraying this Doctor is actually he's louder and more colourful and bigger and brasher and bolder than his coat. It's extremely out there. The coat is his personality is bigger even than that.
I agree, but it's interesting. See, I think the Sixth Doctor is a wordsmith. He's a man of language. I mean, everything Baker ever did is about language. He corrects everyone on the correct use of something, the terminology, the whatever. He's a linguist. I can see him more in almost an Edgar Allan Poe or a kind of whatever type outfit where he's almost aping his greatest hero, who's his greatest writer, hero, whatever. Because he's one of the few guys that actually, when he's talking, he has gravitas.
He does, yeah.
And the costume I find slightly detracts from that.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
But
I said recently, well, you know how we've been doing a bit of a Sixth Doctor series, and I've been listening to more audios recently, and they always mention the coat really like disparagingly. Someone will say, the man looks like a clown, or whatever. And I think I said to you, Paul, kind of wish they just wouldn't now. There's always
just
a
go on
dig,
with it.
and it's probably just it's good natured and stuff, but it just feels a bit like we've had that now. And but I was listening to the first set recently.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt, Jeff, just look at that the detail on that wall behind these guys, with that frieze, with the that relief. That's amazing. Details really like this set, again. That's what helps sell it. Sorry, mate. Go on, carry on.
I can't remember what I was going to say. I was listening to Waterworlds, which is one of the recent Big Finish ones with Ruth Madeley, and the Doctor basically feeds his coat to some animals in that one, and they were like, "Oh, good, the coat's gone." And I thought, he's obviously going to get it back again. The TARDIS will produce it again. But they got rid of it for a bit.
I Doctor Who is what it is. Peter Davidson walked around in a cricket outfit forever.
Yeah, look at this.
It kind of depends how.
Look at this set. Look at the. We're talking about lighting and everything else. This is a moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything turned right down. Just this spooky red glow from the brains in the tanks.
If you lit that set wrongly,
it's terrific.
It wouldn't be there
immediately.
But Graham Harper's got there. He's turn it down, guys. Turn it right down. You'll never pick that up on a telly, 625 line telly. Doesn't matter. Turn it down.
She's even got that little light in her hand. Without that lighting being as low as it is, that
wouldn't work.
Just wouldn't work.
No, absolutely, just get lost completely, wouldn't it? And you can barely see his face, at least on my screen anyway. But again, you just got that red and a bit of green. It's beautiful, beautiful. And this kind of leads into a moment, I believe, when she gets reunited with her father, who obviously these two are kind of looking for, aren't they? They're investigating the whole idea that bodies are going missing. They think they've just found a body.
Horror.
And then here we go.
Face.
And this is where he discovers the glass Dalek.
Oh, got that.
But this is where you also find out what it is that Davros is up to. It's kind of like,
look at that shot as well through the glass.
Yeah.
Or obviously perspex, but see now in the very first Dalek story by Terry Nation the novelisation of it by David Whittaker.
Yes.
He featured a glass Dalek, didn't he?
Yeah,
and it was never realised on screen. I think I'm pretty sure that Eric Saywood had that in mind when he was writing this.
Well, that's why the fans always wanted a transparent. They were desperate, transparent. Dalek, and we did one, but
did you? Yeah,
we couldn't ever get it to the point. Plastic just doesn't behave. If you wanted to make a glass Dalek, you'd have to make it in a particular glass plastic. So, but it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Davros for a moment? Because obviously he's been back in the eye of the fans recently, hasn't he? Thanks to you, Al.
He did. He came back. Back. I love that Davros. It's almost like that's almost like Davros is sitting in the TARDIS console. The head in the
sort of column, the rotor thing.
Yeah. He's just the head there, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And I think, you know, when I first watched this, I didn't question why Davros at this point was just a head. Because at the end of Resurrection of the Daleks, he's kind of he's put in a tank? He's led away, isn't he, to stand trial? Something.
So end of Resurrection is the one where he falls victim to the Mavellan.
Oh, the virus. Yes, the squatty stuff all over, isn't it? That's it. You're right.
Pulls the self-destruct and the whole station blows up, and you just see something go and drop.
That's it. Yes.
The gravity in space, something just drops straight out.
Just drops, boom. Yeah, straight down. It's fired out, Al. That's what it is.
Yeah. So the assumption is always a kind of did-he, didn't-he kind of thing. But yes, it's a bit, it's a bit like...
Yeah. Yeah, it was
like the president in Blake 7. He could,
it's,
Davros have copies everywhere, because obviously we find out later on that one in the thing is not necessarily.
This is a great moment now where her father is becoming a Dalek and starting to sound like a Dalek, and begs his daughter to kill him.
That's for 5 o'clock tea time.
It's grim, isn't it?
Even at 10:30 at night, where we are now, it's horrific.
That's not the most pleasant of
the bulging thing on the top of his head. Yeah,
me, but that in itself is horror. A father basically saying to the daughter, I'm basically a monster, I'm unsavable, and she's God knows, we don't know at this point how long she spent looking for him.
Yeah, that's right.
So
and she's got to do it, and here we go.
And this is where the people that you think are relatively benign suddenly turn out to be as bad as everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah, because they torture these guys, don't they?
Are now basically beating the crap out of these. So everybody's got an agenda. That's what's so good about this story. It's unrelenting. Unpleasant.
And here we go as well with the side story with Orsini, isn't it? Played by William Gaunt. So again, these guys, Al, like you're saying, these guys have got an agenda as well. And at the moment, they're kind of in sync with each other. They both want what the other can do. So right now, they're quite happy to work together. But as we find out later on, there's still double crossing and scheming on both sides, isn't there?
This story is just one of those puzzle plates that you got as a kid, where bits are constantly moving into new.
And here we go, Bostock as well. So what we were saying earlier about, on the surface, his personal hygiene. Bostock is probably the only character in this, I think, who maybe doesn't have an ulterior motive, who doesn't have an agenda, or at least doesn't seem to be. He just seems to be insatiably loyal to Orsini. And I think, the fact of his purity, about the fact he doesn't wash, he doesn't try to pretend to be anybody else. He is exactly who he is. You know what I mean?
I think it could be a product of the time it was made, but he clocks as Baldric.
Yes, that's what I was
thinking.
Does.
Yeah.
He clocks as being Baldric to Blackadder, and it feels, for that reason, it feels a little bit odd. But like I say, it's probably just a product of the time, because he's not played. Even if you look at his facial expression, he's kind of ferrety and a bit weaselly, and he's not necessarily particularly.
Yeah.
But your point is absolutely right. He's ferociously, oh God, what was the word you used? He's just loyal.
Loyal, yeah. It's that thing of the squire and the knight, isn't it? So kind of.
And the lighting is interesting here as well, because obviously these guys are the powerful ones, or and they've got money and all of that, and it's very kind of bright, and this is lit more like it usually is on the show.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting as well that I look at this and I kind of see similarities to Caves of Androzani. Those shots of is it Morgus in his corporate tower, and I think that screen where they that kind of video screen that they communicate with Davros on here, I think that was used in Androzani as well, or something similar to it.
Yes,
and that little perspex screen on the table, not the
where's that getting projected from? They always have those, don't they? They just pop up in midair.
Hollow projectors, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, yeah.
So,
are you quite
certain things throw you out, don't they? Though the sort of use of live edge pink acrylic plastic kind of
pastels,
throws you slightly out of the scene. The soft lighting it doesn't, but the live edge acrylic plastic.
I remember making that in DT at school. Yeah. So, Al, are you a bit of a Sixth Doctor fan? We're both quite big fans, really, aren't we?
I'll be blatantly honest. I wasn't when he was on TV. But in terms of the Big Finish stuff, I think some of Colin Baker's stories are just astounding. I mean, there's a couple that are brilliant. His companions as well. I think Constance Clark.
Yep.
There's a story called Static.
Oh yeah, we like that one.
And there's a story, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's called something like Nowhere, where there's basically a door that appears in space, and everyone that goes through it just disappears. And it's some of them are just absolutely fabulous. And like I say, I think Colin Baker's Doctor is a wordsmith. To me, his language is just brilliant. It's so sophisticated. Bang, 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 bang. And I think Big Finish just managed to, which is why I was saying to you, Jeff, the other day, I think be fascinated to see what Big Finish do with the 13th Doctor, because I think that may on audio be completely different, which would be very
interesting.
Very interesting.
I think for Sixie they took what was there on TV and built on it and expanded it all and kind of enabled him to realize his potential. And I think for me and Paul as well as 13 fans, I hope they don't change things too much, but take what there was and expand it and enable other people to kind of get into it the way we did, you know what I mean, without it kind of being radically not what it was when it was
not what people enjoyed.
Yeah.
I was getting lost in Joe Bell's. Yeah, this way he ticks someone off and picking their nose, doesn't it?
Again, it's just it's one whether it's the lighting or whatever, those costumes. Had you lit those differently with the hat detail going on to his face, you would be laughing. You see how the hat detail goes into the makeup, but because of the way it's lit, it just works really well.
And
it does. You're right. Yeah,
that's interesting as well. How you when you see like set photos of people in costumes for films, particularly like superhero or sci-fi stuff, there's always people online going, "Oh God, they look awful." But you think that just out in the daylight in a car park, they're not lit, or on the location, and you've got to kind of wait to see how it's meant to be lit. If you'd seen the Alien, like I was saying earlier, if you saw that,
you'd have said,
you'd go, "Oh my God, yeah." But you see it as it's meant to be.
I think. Yeah, and back to an earlier point, I think that's the Graham Harper factor, isn't it? I mean, if you work with what you've got, and if you're experienced enough, you kind of know, boy, that's going to look shonky.
Yeah.
If we light it badly, let's just make this super dim. So, Caves of Androzani, same issue. It's an 8 foot tall creature.
Yeah.
With a 5'6" guy inside it, trying to make it look threatening.
Try and look scary. Yeah. So Graham Harper's like, don't hardly show it. When you do show it, just turn the lights right down and cut it at 2 seconds in or something.
That's costume design in this is just brilliant.
It is. Yeah, it's good.
I like her eye makeup and all that kind of stuff. It's building the world, like you were saying earlier, Alan. Making them that bit different from us, as we know. That's the style that they have.
Don't know, I'm pretty sure I've seen people with that eye makeup, Jeff.
Well, it depends.
I've seen you wearing that, actually.
Yeah,
But no, you're right. It does help sell it for sure. And he's got his tin leg. When you look at that box as well, they've just given him, this locator box with something a nasty surprise in it. And you just imagine that props gave them this and said, okay, yeah, you said you wanted a box. There's a big box. It's massive, isn't it? It's way too big, really, for what it is. And it looks pretty shonky, but it doesn't matter because they believe it. They're selling it.
He was such a good actor as well.
William Gaunt.
Yeah.
He was in our sitcom around the time. I seem to remember his face being around a lot.
He was,
in the 80s.
Again, that's casting against type, isn't it? You see him in the
exactly.
And the next time you see him in this, and suddenly you're like, geez, he's playing an assassin with a.
I can't remember what the comedy was. What was it?
I'll look him up.
We've got it here somewhere. Don't worry, I've got it here. If I hover over his name on Wiki, it'll tell me. No Place Like Home. That was it. That was what he was in. And he was in The Champions. He was in Next of Kin in the 90s.
One of those character actors from the sort of 70s. And God, look at Davros.
Yeah.
Davros looked bloody
spinning around like that.
When he spins.
Yeah.
It's proper kind of Exorcist stuff with a head.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, and there's some speed on that as well. You know, like a lot of Doctor Who tends to move quite slowly, but not on that one. You imagine Terry Malloy in there, because I think he was in that, wasn't he? He spun around like, what the?
Yeah. Well, when he first spun around, I was just thinking, that's just a head. But then he starts talking immediately. Oh yeah, he really is in there.
Do you know what, Jeff? As well, look at the light, the strips of light on the side of his column there. The way they kind of reflect. You know, again, lovely, brilliant details in this.
Also, the other thing about this that I think is good is you don't get manic Davros. Like, so much of Davros' time is spent being a psycho madman, and it was.
This is cold, calculating Davros, isn't it?
When Terry Malloy came along, it was the you must hate him as much as I.
Yeah.
It's proper.
That's really good. I thought Davros was in the room with us, right?
Yeah, that was really good.
Proper sort of emperor type stuff. It's cold and calculating versus the slightly, I mean, don't get me
ranting
wrong,
kind of psycho
rant, but he's playing a long game in this one.
Colin and Terry are quite good pals, aren't they?
They are, aren't they?
I went to see the Hound of the Baskervilles stage show that they both did year before last, I think.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, I wonder where this is, because it's
the one where they're walking down. Apparently they had freak weather, didn't they? But them walking down, and Peri cooks a Dalek who she's never seen before or never seen them, and the Doctor's like, "What did you see?"
What did you see? Yeah. This is was this the old? Was it an IBM offices or something like that? Wasn't it?
It was something like that, I think. Yeah.
Some sort of corporate industrial park type thing, but
fits it perfectly.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And you got that kind of shot of the pyramids over all this as well. So it's you have to do a bit of placement in your head, but I think it works. See, this is what you were saying, wasn't it? Where these two nice guys suddenly turn out to be absolute torturers.
Yeah, everybody's got an agenda. That's what I mean. You kind of assume that they're kind of like they're like the two blokes at work who are like, all right, let's go off and have a cup of tea, blah blah blah. And they're quite. They don't do this. They're not nice. They're not bad, but they are. They're just.
I was going to say
because they waterboard him with his whiskey thing, don't they?
Sorry, Jeff.
When we spoke to Colin, he told us that he has Davros. He said, "I have an appendage from Davros." So where's this going? That he's got one of his fingers from when he exploded or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right end of part 2. Yeah.
And I think also because he loves his Crocs as well, and I think Terry introduced him to those. He was wearing them one day, and Colin said, "What on earth are you wearing?" And he said, "Oh, they're Crocs. They're fantastic." And Colin was a bit scoffed at them, and then he tried them, and now he wears them all the time. That's his thing, yeah. So, I love hearing
Crocs by Davros.
Yeah, Davros.
Davros introduced me to Crocs.
I like hearing, stories about, the friendship between actors like that. Like, Colin told us that he gave Miranda Raisin one of his old keyboards, and so when we spoke to her a few months later, we said, our first question is, how's Colin's keyboard? And she thought that was...
was it a keyboard or was it an actual piano? Was it?
I can't remember, but she chuckled at that, didn't she? And she said her kids love it. So isn't that nice to think that these guys all get on and they're swapping shoes and body parts and
I think that's it. And back to the Blake 7 conversation from earlier, but it's so nice, especially on the audios when like these people from these shows get back together and they all say, it's like it was yesterday. They're just the same. They still piss about, and this person still does this, and whatever. It's the camaraderie is cool.
And it must be nice as well for them as actors and people. But you do a job, TV show or something, and it might last a year or a couple of years or whatever. But then you move on to the next thing, and you don't necessarily see those people again. And, so for these guys, they probably get together a number of times throughout a year. That must be quite nice, I think.
It's that kind of family that you get on a production, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Colin, I mean, when you see him, Doctor Who, he plays everything absolutely straight.
Yeah.
He no matter what's going on around about him,
he was good in his
plays it absolutely
Blake
straight.
7 episode, wasn't he? Where he played
Yeah, and I
Baben the
think-
Butcher.
And that probably goes back to his time when he was in, was it The Brothers that he was in way back when, where he was not, particularly nice. I think he was.
Yeah, he was there.
Particularly nice.
He was the bad guy, wasn't he?
Nicola's always really good as well, isn't she?
Yeah.
And you're right, Al. They do have quite a sort of tempestuous relationship, but there's still a love for each other there.
There's still a bond there, isn't it?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I think it's always interesting for transitional companions, companions that have gone through, and I think people forget that
Mine out, Doctor.
that you've got that thing where with certain companions where they see the regeneration, they lose that person that they started with, and it is something completely new. You've got the Rose Tylers, you've got the Claras, you've got I'm trying to think who else was in there, but Nicola was one of them. Peri rather. She starts with one.
Yeah,
Tegan was another one. Tegan and Nissa, and they all start
4 to 5. Yeah,
I think it's always very interesting when you get that flip from one to the other.
Especially, I think, in this case, because the Doctor had tried to kill her at one point, didn't he, when he changed? So that was quite a trauma.
Yeah. Another brilliant, I love the two Doctors as well. That one with Troughton and Colin together. I think that's a fabulous...
We watched Twin Dilemma recently, and I hadn't seen it for a really long time, so it was kind of newly remembering it for me. And I went into it and I was like, why does everyone hate this story? I really enjoyed it. It was good. We had a good time watching it again, didn't we?
That was fun.
It was really good. Great. I want to watch part 2 now, but we'll have to come back for that.
I've got to go, sadly.
Yeah. Well, Al, would you be up for coming back for part 2 next week sometime?
Absolutely.
I feel like we can't leave it on that cliffhanger. Now we need to...
I was going to say, did you guys want to briefly chat sonic screwdrivers? I've got.
I suppose we can squeeze an extra 10 minutes in bonus for that, Al, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, because as of recording, that's just come out this week, isn't it? So
wow.
It has sort of unofficially. It came out obviously SDC. I think I probably put the cat amongst the pigeons because people were like, "Oh, is there anything different?" And I was like, "No, there's nothing different. There was a couple of changes. Basically, to get the BBC order for SDCC out, we had to go with where we were. There was a couple of things we wanted to change, internal things, not external things. So anybody that's kind of looking for something visibly different will be definitely disappointed. It was more functional, structural stuff. Nothing was wrong. It was just that we kind of went, we could change that and make it a little bit different, better, basically. Better, yes. What you're buying now is better. No, it's not. But I thought I'd show you these. So this is the first prototype, actually. Well, not prototype, but this is the first working sample I got.
Makes a noise.
It does. It all makes a lovely noise.
Yeah.
Just so many things.
You can see one of the issues that came up early on was obviously there's quite a bit of light leakage from the product. So actually, this was great to see because it's a good example of what changes. Because I kind of went, we should mold this in black, and then do it so that eliminate a chunk of it. Because they were saying, we'll spray it inside, and I was like, don't spray it inside, just make it black plastic. It will solve that problem, no problem. So it did. It had a couple of. This one's interesting because when you press the release button, it plays the eject sound twice.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason.
Just does it.
It's a bug.
But obviously, there's a couple of little things, and then the other one that I've got, which is quite interesting, is this one has no color on it. So this is a pure, silver and brass version of the Sonic.
Yeah, there's no light leakage on there, is there?
So it's so there will be I think it's safe to say that it's gone on sale. I think it seems to be selling pretty well. It's an interesting Sonic. It has exactly the same reaction from what I can see for the collectors and the fans as it had in the office. Everybody in the office, and I mean everybody, when I showed them the design, went, "Nah, not sure.
Really?
Don't like that. Doesn't look very interesting. Looks weird. Not Sonic." I brought that first prototype into the office, the first working model with a wire trailing out it in the box, and I was playing around. I literally walked in the middle of the office and started pissing about with it, basically, and pressing the buttons and doing it.
Yeah.
Every single person came up and went, "Oh my god, that's so freaking good."
I said the same thing.
Person. So, and I think it's like that in the real world. I think people. I think it's very Marmite. I think people go, "No." Some people go, "Yeah," but virtually everyone that sees it and actually plays with it goes, "Do you know what? This is really cool."
Yeah, I remember you sent me that video of it, and I said exactly that to you. I wasn't sold on it before, and now I've seen you with it. It looks fantastic. All the things that come out, and the noises and the lights and everything, it just came to life in a way that it kind of didn't on screen, I think. And its design is so unusual, and you're like, oh, that's Jodie's Sonic was quite different, but it was still Sonic. But this is not Sonic at all in how it looks. So it is quite a
that was one of the quite interesting things about the development of it, was they kind of gave us all the sounds, but they couldn't show us. Not that they wouldn't. Production. Not that they wouldn't. Show us how it worked.
Right.
Actually,
so it's kind of work on it yourself.
We had to spend a bit of time coming up with the logic of how does it work for us as a toy, because on screen he's only ever doing this or he's only ever doing that.
Yeah, you don't see much of it.
Whereas actually I've got to basically go, oh, this. So like basic stuff like, press it once, you get one sound, press it twice, you're going to get another sound, press it 3 times, you're going to get another sound. When this comes out, it makes that sound. But if you have this out and then you press that, what happens? So little things like this overrides everything. Doesn't matter what you press. And that was a functional decision, was just, it does this, this goes up, this goes down, it makes this noise, it makes, which we knew because production had told us, but certain things we had to basically say, this is a rule as far as the programming goes. When that is flipped out, nothing else works. Because you need to kind of hang everything on a structure of function. So that was a bit of fun, and then kind of take it down. We had to take it down to production and show them. And obviously, it's not quite like the prop. The prop is, like all props, beautiful, very complex, thinner, not doesn't have sound. It has a light, So you're kind of back in that age-old thing of, like, that's why I say you've got to come up with rules. What does it do when this pressed? What's it do when that pressed? Even things like, when does that little purple power crystal come on? And I think on the prop, this swings all the way round. But I know, if you keep twisting, you're going to break it because it's a toy. So
it kind of stops at that point.
The rule is it stops at 180. It goes that way, it stops at 180. It's always going to. That's back to just making rules. That little power crystal's got a, it probably isn't noticeable, but it kind of flickers and
we can see that. We're picking it up. Those of you just listening on audio, you'll have to go and watch this on YouTube because it's much more interesting.
You can actually see it, not have to imagine it.
That looks fantastic, though, isn't it?
But it's good. I didn't realise I hadn't got you guys one of those yet. You haven't got one yet.
No, we've had other stuff, haven't we?
You have had other stuff.
We can't talk about.
Can't talk about those yet.
I'll make sure you get one of those, and I'll send you something else that you also can't talk about, or
Okay.
Exciting
I always
times.
like that. I always say to people, and they kind
Yeah.
of, aha, you're joking, and I'm like, I'm not joking. And
No,
I signed
you
my
talk
name.
about this and I'll kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, I signed my name on an NDA,
Yeah.
and basically, I will lose my job. But thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, no, and we know, and you know, I think we're quite good at keeping secrets now,
We
aren't
are. Do you know what? I
Yeah.
just saying that actually because
Professional secret keepers.
what I do I have to sign a lot of NDAs for a lot of stuff I work on, and there's one a couple of weeks back, and the guy said I was in a room full of people, and the guy doing this stuff says, "Look, seriously, do not be tempted even." To say anything, even no matter how many beers you've had, however tempting it might be, you'd say nothing because I will pull off your legs. There are better ways to lose a limb. You do not want me to be the one removing them from your body. That's it. You know, that was quite nicely put. He didn't need to say that, but the point was taken.
But it worked.
I think we all, you guys, I've trusted you. I mean, you've been in on a lot of stuff right from the start. Hopefully we can sort of keep doing that. But yeah, it's it's part of you guys' profession. I think when you're in a profession where non-disclosure and keeping stuff,
it's part of the day-to-day, isn't it?
Innately understand that people don't say it for jokes. I think outside of that, sometimes people think, oh, it doesn't matter. Really bloody does.
It does matter. Yeah,
there's
exactly.
all sorts of things at play and people involved, and it's big machines of things, and stuff can't come out until something else has come out, and all of that kind of stuff. And secrets are good, I think, and discovering things when you're meant to rather than blowing it. So there's no point saying anything.
No, completely. And I think modern thinking and probably social media, I think probably encourages a bit of that everybody seems to want their 15 minutes in the sun. It's interesting. I mean, I think I've said to you guys in the past, I've taken, the phrase "no good deed goes unpunished" is absolutely true, to the point where I've taken a step back this year in terms of nothing to do with promoting these things anymore. I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. Frankly, it's not worth the ball ache. And to be honest, it can become a bit more corporate, and people can do releases when they want. But it is true, and you guys probably know the same, that you've virtually everything you do that you think, oh, that it's nice, I'll tell this person, you end up getting kicked in the nuts.
Exactly.
Almost guaranteed.
No, yeah, it is. Well, again, the day-to-day business stuff, anything kind of leaks that it's not supposed to, then...
Are you wearing a Discovery cap, Paul?
I am, yeah. Do you see that?
Yeah. I do. Are you a Discovery fan?
I'd love to say yes, because there is a lot of it that I like, and there's a lot of it that I love, but sadly I haven't watched the last series yet.
No,
and I can't quite find I can't quite find the energy to go out and watch it. But I did enjoy the first. I think the second series was the one I really, really enjoyed. Is that the one with the AI going a bit crazy?
Yeah,
and we start to get Pike coming back into it with the Enterprise and stuff like that. I thought that was brilliant. After that, it kind of went down a little bit, but it's good to see Star Trek back.
I struggled with it once they kind of went forward to the future, and
that was it. Yeah.
Strange New Worlds is, I love that. At the moment, I'm heavily into Ghostbusters. That's my.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. You showed me a few things.
Yeah, I need to. Do you know, that's one that my daughter keeps saying she wants to watch, but never actually gets round to it. And I kind of want to wait until she wants to watch it, because then we can watch it together. There's a few series that we watch together. I mean, we'd be watching Arrow. I think we're on series 7 of Arrow now. We're almost at the end of that, and we've been watching it probably for the last 4 or 5 years, I want to say, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. It's nice that when you can sit down. My daughter's.
It is. Yeah.
She doesn't really want to.
Yeah.
Spend time with us, but weirdly, Ghostbusters, not the most recent one, was one that she went to, and she actually came out and said, that was really cool, to the point where now I'm building 3 proton packs.
That's it. Yeah.
One for me, which is the 1980s.
Obviously, it's got to be done.
One for my son, which is one of the new yellow and black trendy ones.
Okay.
And one for Jasmine, which is the Phoebe Spengler one with the sort of bits taken out, and it's got sparks that are going to fly out and all stuff.
Yeah, it's got to have sparks, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite excited about that. But it's nice.
Great.
I don't know what you're like with your kids. I've never. Yours are probably too young, Jeff, are they? But I've never pushed. Jasmine's a bit of a nerd, but Harrison isn't, and I've never really pushed them into watching stuff like
same.
Star Wars, whatever. I've sort of.
Yeah. Actually, I tell a lie. There was the only thing I really sort of cajoled or heavily cajoled Freya to get into, because I just knew she'd like it. It took ages, and I knew she would go for it. Was Supergirl. Right? Oh yeah. I was saying, come on, you've got to watch this. You've got to watch it, because I'd started watching it, right? Because superheroes and stuff, and I thought, well, it's probably I'm enjoying it, but I kind of got the feeling I probably should be in my teens or early 20s to be really watching this, So, but I thought, oh, well, Freya would love it, because it's right up her street. It's, exactly what she wants. And it took a while, but when she sat down and watched the first episode, she was sold on it. And because I'd recorded all the ones which I'd started watching on Series Link, she just binged like the entirety of Series 1. And she gets right into the characters, she goes right into the actors and the backstories, follows them on Instagram and Snapchat or whatever it is, and TikToks and everything.
It's fascinating what they get into. Jasmine's really into Good Omens, and I started watching it and then stopped, and then she was sort of chatting about it, and I thought, oh, actually, I'll go back and watch it. And sorry, the hamster's up. I'm very excited by the fact that he's awake and he's up and doing stuff.
Busy time for a hamster.
Yeah, it is. He's quite old now, bless him. I'm a bit worried about him, but I don't tell Jasmine that. I just kind of
my guinea pigs are quiet.
Yeah, you've got guinea pigs, ain't you, Jeff?
Yeah, they're right next to me.
Rainbow Sparkles and whatever it was.
Poppy and Rainbow Sparkles.
Poppy and Rainbow Sparkles.
Are you serious? You've got a guinea pig called Rainbow Sparkles?
Yeah. I didn't name it. Yeah.
Like you said.
What's the contracted version of that? What's the short version of
Well, actually, the kids don't really pay them much attention. It's me that feeds them and cleans them out and stuff like that. So I just
is it Bobo Sparkles, or is it?
It's just Rainbow Sparkles.
Where are we?
You total bastard!
You must refer to me by my full name.
What, Bobo Sparky Pants?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I was just going to say I managed to get my son Ethan to watch the second Avatar film a while ago, and he was, I don't want to watch that. He moaned about it.
I'll see his
and
point,
we sat
mate.
down and watched it, and he turned to me towards the end and he went, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah.
And next month we're going to see the first film at the Royal Albert Hall with the orchestra playing to do the music.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. Those are amazing, by the way.
I've waited a long time to go and do something like that. I've missed every film I'd wanted to see. I missed the booking for it, and then a few months ago I saw the Avatar was coming. It came up on Twitter one morning. I was like, I've got to do that.
You've got to do that, mate.
I saw Blade Runner there. That was really good. Other than it had bloody subtitles, which I hate. And the one that I was really excited to see is they're doing Ghostbusters, but I'm in Rome with the family, so I won't be able to do that one.
Yes, I saw that was on the current program. I think one of the Potters is, and maybe Top Gun Maverick as well.
Yeah, Top Gun's up there. That's such a good film.
It is such a good film. Yeah.
That's up there with. I know people rain on it, but the 2009 Star Trek, the Kelvin verse stuff. That's one of those movies I can just put on and just watch any time, any day of the week. Top Gun Maverick is exactly the same. It's just.
I'm with you on. I'm with you on the Top Gun. Maybe not so much on the Star Trek, but I don't know. I like the first. I like the start of that Star Trek. Maybe up to about 3/4 of the way in, and then. Yeah, but anyways, no, I'm not going to rain on your parade.
Talking of crews, I said to Ethan, my son, the other day, now that you're 10, you're old enough to watch Mission Impossible and discover where your name came from. And he went, no, I'll watch it when I'm 11.
You didn't make it. Oh, I'm going to say, yeah. You're not going to make him watch the Brian De Palma one, are you? The first one.
I said you can start at number 3 where it really gets good.
Yeah, jumping at. Yeah. 2. Well, I quite like 2 actually. It's just
two's
crazy.
Good, but 3 is where they just
people take the piss on 2 a lot, don't they? So, 2's just
yeah, it's a bit silly in places. But,
it just exponentially gets better and better.
It does. I agree. Well, do you know? I watched the first of those, and I just did not like it at all. And I was like,
I was exactly the same. And I think
I was texting Jeff, and I've texted Jeff to wind him up, and I'm saying, I thought you said Mission Impossible was good and all that sort of thing. He's like, and then I must admit, I watched the second one, I thought, now this is getting good. And then the third one, well, this is even better. But actually, there's a bit of weird stuff with it. The third one's the J.J. Abrams one, isn't it?
That's it, yeah.
But it was still good. And then Rogue Nation or whatever, and Ghost
Protocol. They just
really,
get better.
Really good.
Ghost Protocol is fabulous film.
I think that's the top one. Yeah.
The one that's just been, I thought they were a bit unfair. I thought that was actually a really good.
I thought it was all right.
Dead Reckoning is.
I think they said it was a 2-parter. Yeah. They kind of made a rod for their own back. If they hadn't said it was a 2-parter, they just said it's a film, but it's open-ended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's perhaps what they should have done, like Infinity War and Endgame. They were clearly
pictures 2 separate films, but they're
but 2
continue from the other, don't they?
They have subtly dropped the part 1 from Dead Reckoning since it came out in the cinema. The next film will be called something else. If they finally ever finish filming it, Cruise is still flying around on biplanes, jumping between biplanes.
I know, give him his dues. He's still still doing that shit, isn't he?
It's
still
been
risking.
going on for years. This one,
yeah.
But next year, hopefully, it'll be out. So
I can believe when he actually did ride that motorbike off the cliff top, right, and parachute down. He actually flipping did that.
There's a behind the scenes video somewhere. That shows.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah. When they did it all in one take. He was up to doing it again.
Yeah.
He said,
he did it loads of times.
And they're like, no, we got the camera. We got where we wanted. We got the angles. Well, I'll do it again.
Yeah. Amazing. It's like when he jumps out the back of the one in Fallout, jumps out the plane. And the camera guy is going backwards. And there's a very slight... Cruise goes out of focus ever so slightly at one point. But they said that was the best take of it, and they kept that one in the film because they just.
It's weird that jumping over the parachute thing doesn't bother me. The one where he's with the suckers going up the side.
The bird.
I don't like heights. And
no, same. Yeah.
See the picture of Cruise. There's a picture of him sitting at the top of it on the very point, And Cruise is a great actor, but also he is fully committed to. Delivering for entertainment and spectacle and
yes, 100%. But Jesus, the
and then one of them gives out, doesn't it? And he slips.
I was doing a kind of tweet along thing when I was watching that. You know what I mean? I had a few people sort of coming in and say, "Well, wait till he starts climbing the side of that building." I'm like, "No, it's not gonna." And then he does. Oh, jeez.
Anything with his height, it just. Like, I can't go back and watch Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger is one of those films I saw once. It terrified the shit out of me. I've never gone back to watch that.
I'll take it.
That opening sequence where she falls is just probably the most,
it's
visceral kind of, oh, shit.
That's the great thing about it. Films that can actually do that, kind of grip you at spine and rip it out your body almost, make you feel something visceral. That's...
You say that, but then the girl that did that stunt did an interview years later where she said Sylvester Stallone was such a pussy that he didn't actually turn up and do the high wire work, but she was made to crawl out on that wire and actually
he didn't do it.
He photographed, and then she had to kind of unclip herself and fall away, and then she was sort of pulled back to the side. She said she was literally terrified. And he didn't even come up.
I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. That's why we got stunt guys, and that's what they get paid for. And I can't do it on my insurance.
I was from New Jersey, but I am.
Oh, it's good fun, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
Do one of these again, but just literally with kind of like fedoras and in the dark, like
the kind of noirish sort of thing.
Noir, cinema noir.
Yeah.
So, what you doing down here, Blue Eyes? Huh? Someone
talking
ran
to
your cage to get you down here, or what's going on? Who the broad with you?
That, but I watched Sin City again the other day. And
That's good. Yeah.
Such a good film. Such a good.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we diverged.
We did.
Yes, it's late now. We should probably.
I'll send you guys a couple of little presents.
Oh,
that's very kind of you. Thank you.
We shall keep them
midnight, as they say.
Okay. Dun 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 dun. And thanks for showing us your Sonic out as always.
Yes.
Thank
you. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. Really cool. So if you are listening to this on audio only, do pop along to our YouTube channel because there's some really good stuff that Al's been showing us here.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of good fun. And who knows, maybe more soon, perhaps.
Let's come back and do part 2. I'd forgotten how good Revelation was.
Yeah, it's a cracker.
Yeah, that was great. We need to watch the rest of it, so we'll sort a date out.
Thank you for inviting me, by the way.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Anytime.
Very, very good of you. Yeah, thank you.
No, that was cool.
Right.
Really enjoyed
Thank you for joining us, listeners, as well. And we'll catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner.
Indeed. Bye for now. See you next time.